So today we're going to talk about phone and tablet photography. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn on our grid. For iOS devices, you will find this in camera, and then in the settings, you will turn on the grid. If you're an Android user, you will find this directly in your settings when you open your camera. First thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the rule of thirds, and this is dividing into horizontal and vertical lines. So you will see 9 squares. This is used in some photography compositions, not in all of them, but it's useful to know that if you place your object or your subject in the intersecting lines and divide the lines in an equal way, it might give you different effects. Let me give you some examples with pictures that I've taken. So here, if you see the flowers, I will go to edit and then use a crop section just to show you how I would align it to a rule of thirds. So in this case, I have the flowers and I will place the central part of the biggest flower in one of the intersecting points. This will create a visual effect that will draw the eye and it will bring attention to that section in particular. So feel free to play with the grid, but please note that the lower part to the left, the intersection, so the first quadrant and the lower part to the left, will give the eye an easier and smoother way out when it's looking at the picture. So try not to recharge the right part of the picture when it comes to the rule of thirds, unless it's the effect you want to create. So if you see in this case, I can also place it in the middle if I want to create the sensation of balance. But if I use the grid and I place a petal in the intersection to the upper part on the right, it'll give you a completely different effect. Just as I mentioned, it will recharge the picture, so it will give a stronger sensation. Now for this picture, we have people and we have a background with nature and a building, right? So I will align the people and the intersection to the lower part in the left. It'll create a different composition, and you can play around and place it in the middle as well. When it comes to controlling the exposure, phones are really good at detecting the light, but sometimes we are overexposing our pictures, so the good thing is we can press directly on the areas we want the exposure to be balanced. And in this case, I want to focus on the letters as well, because sometimes when we're taking pictures, letters become blurry, right? But then I'm going to play with exposure and the letters at the same time. So I will click on the area where I have the typography, and then I will press on the square and the little sun will show me a little bar. So I can overexpose or underexpose my picture, just as simple as that. And this works perfect when you're on a concert or when you're in a very dark area to control how much light you want in your picture. In this case, I am against the light, so I am playing with the very little light I have. And now we're going to talk about Pano. Pano is a feature most phones and tablets have. So you can create not 360 pictures, but you can create a very wide picture. So let's see, if you're taking pictures of a landscape, you need to keep the arrow in the center of the line and move slowly. But in this case, I am using Pano in a wrong manner. So you will see how my picture gets distorted, because as it gets closer to the end of the line, I go faster and I do not keep my center. So you have to be stable and move slowly. Now, this is a good example of how I took my time and I moved it slowly. Obviously, it might get distorted because of the movement on the picture, so Pano works better when there's no movement. But this is just to show you how to use the line correctly and how to move slowly. So this is a result. You will see the waves are a little bit distorted because there's movement. But if you want to take the picture from the right side to the left side, just click on the arrow and it'll give you a reverse effect. Now, Pano can also be used in a vertical mode, and you just have to place your phone in a portrait mode and start going up slightly. One fun thing about Pano is also cloning yourself around a picture. So you will need the person who's taken the picture to go really slow and strike a pose in a very steady way and move fast as the person is moving around with the Pano. You can also have fun with your friends and create a duplicate picture in which one person is on one side of the mirror and the next person is on the other end. So this is an example, and this is how it is made. So you will start slowly, just as cloning yourself, and then the person needs to pose very fast as you remove yourself from the picture in front of a mirror. So have fun exploring Pano because it'll give you endless possibilities when it comes to pictures and creating fun compositions. Now I'm going to talk about how to take pictures of your own work because most of the times we submit work, but we take pictures like this or like this, where our paper is not really aligned to what we're looking for. So the grid will be very useful this time, the rule of thirds. And let's say I take the picture, but sometimes I might not get it right the first time. So I can edit it and I can play with the crop feature and the perspective feature. So make sure you align it and you center your work. You can also play with the perspective part when your picture is tilted. So let's say you took it from a distance that didn't give you a completely aligned vertical mode or horizontal mode. So you just use this feature to align it. Now there's another feature for iOS devices. Some Android devices have it as well. You will take a picture and it'll have movement inside of the picture. So you can scroll up when you are looking at your gallery, and it'll give you the options of creating a live, a loop, a bounce, or a long exposure. So long exposure is seen in professional cameras when you play around the aperture and the shutter speed. But this is a more advanced photography lesson that I'm not going to explain in this moment. Just know that you have this option to create a live long exposure, and you can also create a loop, so it'll make a video for you. Now in this case, I use the stove because the fire had movement. And when I create a live picture out of this, I can convert it into a long exposure. So you see that will be the combination as if I were using a professional camera. Just know you have this feature and that you can play with this as well. Now the last thing we're going to see today is about perspectives. So if I flip my phone, I will get my camera lens to give me a different angle, right? And I can always go to the edit section and flip my picture around. Now this is an example of how we can do it outdoors for landscapes as well. Like in this example where the photographer is using the lens upside down. Next week, we will see more advanced features when it comes to editing and different types of photography. So please make sure to submit the work that is listed in the instructions for today and feel free to ask questions if you have any.